Do you ever wonder how or why our universe came into existence? Why the world and our life is the way it is? If you are a 21st century being who lives a busy life juggling between work, family, and self satisfaction driven activities, it's unlikely for such a question to come up. Still, there are times throughout the history of mankind this question was asked. There were people who looked for an answer. Whether they failed or succeeded, it's for them to decide. That's because when looking for answers to such big philosophical questions, it's wise to ask yourself not what is the correct answer, but instead ask what will satisfy my curiosity. There is no correct verifiable answer to that question. If you ask science, the answer might be, I don't know, or we'll never know. The reason for this ambiguity is because it's difficult for a scientific person to use the word God. You see, God is that imaginary being in our life whom we blame for everything we don't understand. Since scientists are supposed to be wiser of the Lord, they refrain from saying God created the universe. In a way, that is the right approach. But while science has no room for God, the other approach accommodates this all-powerful being comfortably. Stories. So to answer the above question, there is this one story that has been universally told again and again that claims to answer that question. This is what makes it the oldest story. The story of why our universe was created. It goes something like this. God exists always. Whether God is a he, she, or it. This is one being who exists for eternity. Now, eternity is boring, which is why boring moments seem to last for eternity. Fortunately, God is not alone. There are other beings to give God company. To make life comfortable, God has created a perfect, blissful world and a problem-free life. Ideally, this should keep them entertained forever. After all, who does not want a happy, problem-free life? That worked for a while, but then cracks started to become visible in this perfect plan. To run a perfect world, God has to control everything. So even though the other beings are there by choice, they don't have any exercisable free will. These people are always happy, always talking, walking, and acting in a cheerful mood. The concept of sadness and other negative emotions do not exist in the God's land. Fortunately, God does not consider boredom as a negative emotion. You see, eternity is that introvert friend of yours who can make the most exciting things boring. This made even the ideal blissful life difficult for some. Now, these beings started imagining strange things. They imagined the concept of negative emotions, sadness, pain, sorrow, grief, etc. Then they made a very odd demand. They asked God to create an imperfect world. A mortal world full of flaws and ever-changing. They wanted to experience this pain, sorrow, sadness, and all the negative emotions they could think of. This confused God, yet people insisted on it. Their argument was this: we can't enjoy the happy moments unless we have gone through the sad ones. It seemed like a genuine request, so God agreed to it. But God was not willing to distort this blissful, perfect world just to satisfy the wishes of a few, because there were others happy with what they had there. Hence, as a solution, God said this: I will create the world as what you desire. Flawed, imperfect, and mortal is what you require. You are free to go live and do what you call fun, but don't expect me to bring you back. What's done will always be done. Thank you.